Nearly 9 hours of coverage down, still a couple more to go. Carson Gabarro with Corey Mamol on day 1 of 3 here at the Penn Relays Carnival. 128th edition presented by Toyota, and we've got the college men's 5,000 meter championship on track right now. Corey, rolling right along with distance night here on day 1.
Nightcap, distance night, finishing it off with the men's 5K here. I'm ready for this hot heat of the men's 5K.
Different than our high school program, the hot heats scheduled to go before the cooler heats, so to speak. But we got a big group of guys out here. You can see 24 on the entries, running 12.5 laps around the Franklin Field Oval. They started on the near side, will finish on the far side. They just went through 200. Pacer Sebastian Pizarro from Penn took them through in 32.25 for the first 200 meters. Samuel Whitaker of Central Connecticut, Ryan Slaney of Bryant, Josh Truchon of Wisconsin, Shane Henderson of Stony Brook, Travis Martin of UConn, Tioga Mbambo of LaSalle, Patrick Anderson of North Carolina, Josh Zellick of Princeton, Brian Busby of Buffalo, Will Coogan of North Carolina, Corey Kennedy of RPI. A whole bunch of guys in this.
It's 51 degrees out right now, Thursday night, and you know, the atmosphere for this 5K is a good one for a distance race. Obviously, it's not too cold, but obviously it's not very hot. So I think these guys are probably in a groove after warming up and getting into the rhythm of things. And I think early on we should expect a pretty conservative pace before the field figures itself out and starts to sort of make moves on one another.
Yeah, over time, it's sort of like a whittling away, process of elimination, it seems, lap after lap. Make it one trailer, then 2 trailers, and before you know it, the leaders are down to 2 or 3. But right now, the field's still relatively together. Pizarro, again, most of the Pacers here tonight are from UPenn, offering their duties, breaking the wind for these athletes on the track that they know the best. It's still Samuel Whitaker of Central Con right behind him.
And the man I'm watching in this 5K in particular is Wisconsin's Micah Wilson. He ran 14:11 at the Big Ten Indoor Championships just this past indoor season, 13:53 in February of 2023 at the Badgers Windy City. So he's been able to get under 14 minutes before. You know, he had an indoor season that was pretty, you know, effective, and now he's coming into the outdoor campaign trying to improve on those marks.
Wilson, just a sophomore, running for the Badger program. Sliding right into 3rd, effectively 2nd in the race, so he's in a good position right now. Of course, nobody's really in a particularly bad position, minus a couple of the outliers on the outside of the lanes. You never want to run too much extra distance out here. You know, lap by lap, sometimes that can accumulate, but overall, these guys know how to manage and distribute their energy over a 5K.
Yeah, I don't think over the first couple of laps here, you're going to see a lot from this field. I think it's going to be pretty conservative as they click off the laps and you know, kind of hone in on what their objectives are tonight. I think it's reasonable to think that we can get, you know, under 14:30, maybe low 14s here, and really get a good performance at Franklin Field.
They took the first kilometer, which was the previous lap, from when they're going to cross the finish line at 2:47.72. So making pretty good per kilometer pace. Look to see if they can maintain that. This next split will be 1,400 meters. And a 5K is just over 3 miles, so they've still got a lot to negotiate here. Clock about to hit 4 minutes. Nearly 10 minutes of racing remaining. Ideally, it's going to take something below 14 to win this 5K tonight.
I would think so. I think, you know, based on where we are in the season and what these guys have done indoors at some of those meets like BU, NCAA's, conferences, I think they're ready to go. You know, the weather is one factor, but I don't think it really, you know, factors in here all that much. We saw the women run pretty good time early on in Heat 1.
Paster steps off. That's Pizarro. He's done his duties to the first mile. He's right around 4:30, just a bit below that. But again, you mentioned those BU meets. We can't really talk about that in the greater context of the direction of this event without mentioning one big name, Nico Young.
Nico Young and Northern Arizona University went out to the 10. recently, and just he's been an absolute phenom over the last year. This man, what hasn't he done? You know,
first collegiate to go sub 27 in that 10K. We'll have 10Ks coming up for you after this trio of 5K heats on the track right now. Your leader, Samuel Whitaker, he held second for the entirety of the Pacers' duties, and now he's leading the field along. In fact,
8 laps to go here, and I think we will start to see a management of the race as it starts to hone in on the pace. Wilson in that second position right behind Whitaker, followed by Laidlaw. But I think Wilson's really managing it well. And I think he really just wants to operate on the shoulder of Whitaker, not really focusing on taking the lead yet. He kind of wants to measure himself to see when is the right time to make that move.
And I actually mixed up the Badgers. That's my apologies. But Wilson is actually the trailer. You see him in the white. He just fell off the picture right now. But then again, we see races play out where a guy can hit the back right away and work his way all up to the front by race's end.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all within a given distance right now, 20 meters from first to last. I think there's a lot that can happen from this point, but it's a 5K, and I think as things wean down, we start to see it turn into something else entirely.
Josh Truchon in second for Wisconsin. He's been there for pretty much the entirety of the last couple of laps. Sean Laidlaw of Georgetown, as you said, still in third. Now he's trying to get by on the inside. Can't quite get boxed in here, but they're all moving at a similar pace. We saw a little bit of movement there.
So that actually is Wilson. That actually is Wilson in second in the ponytail. I think they might have differences there, but that actually is Wilson up in front, right beside Whitaker, kind of on his shoulder.
Either way, could be a good strategy for the Badgers to work together now that they're both in contact with one another.
And that was probably the plan, these two guys working together. Late on a Thursday night, distance night here at the Penn Relays. What better way to come out here but perform together as teammates in a big race like this.
So the next split, this is 2,600. 6 laps remaining, 1.5 miles, 2,400 meters. 7:20.92. It's now Wisconsin 1-2. Truchon and Wilson.
Yeah, that's Wilson actually out in front now, just deciding, okay, this is the time that I'm going to lead this race. Turning actually to his teammate, Truchon, and maybe saying a few words. But Wilson's been in this position before. I think he's comfortable leading a race like this. He's experienced, and now he gets to manage it from the front.
The two of them forming a bit of a wall so that nobody can get by now. Wilson allows Truchon to take care of the leading duties, trying to ratchet up that pace ever so slightly.
I think now is a good time to kind of mention two guys from North Carolina that are running in this race,
yes.
Patrick Anderson and Will Coogan. For those that don't know, this is actually their 3rd race back since a serious car accident that almost took their life after the Raleigh Relays last year. So these two guys recovered, rehabilitated, and got back to form. So the fact that they're racing tonight at the 5K distance together is such an accomplishment. I think they're all grateful for being here. I know Patrick Anderson's family watching him from the stadium stands right now, and it's just a joy to sort of see him in the mix. I think he's ranked 6th or 7th right now. He's in the mix.
And keep in mind, his first 2 races back were 1,500 meters. This is his first 5K in what is essentially a dry run.
It looks like Truchon stepped off. Wilson now out in front.
Anderson, though, back into 4th. He had suffered a shattered skull and broken spine. And for him to make that return to the Raleigh Relays along with Will Coogan, it was just such an emotional moment for them. They described it as a year of growth, perspective, and gratitude. Anderson said, "I'm grateful for it all. The people by my side, the lessons learned, and all that's yet to come." And given that in the past he's run as quickly as 13:37.79, who's going to count him out at this point?
Well, not yet. He is in the race. And we have 4 laps to go in this 5K as things start to ratchet up. I think the turnovers start to come a little bit more. with pace. But if you're Wilson out in front, are you worried? Are you comfortable? You know, in that position, there's a lot riding here out in front. We got Hunter Christopher in second, right on his shoulder, followed by Anderson.
And Tayonga Mbambo on the inside for LaSalle. There's still a good cluster of guys behind them. Sean Laidlaw of Georgetown, Travis Martin of UConn, and Will Coogan as well, the other Tar Heel in the top 6. I think that's the top 7, but it's really a group of 10 at large. They're starting to compress.
They are, and they know the race is whittling away here, and the distance gets, you know, every lap gets more important as they start to sort of, you know, raise the level of energy here, the energy systems kind of that they're working.
Anderson is up into third now. He sneaks by Martin on the inside for the Huskies, but it's still the Badger out front. Micah Wilson, Hunter Christopher of Youngstown State, he's held on to second. They're running 67 on the latest lap.
Yeah, I think 67's for them pretty comfortable. I think they're really, they look good. They look poised. And I think there's still a little bit more left in this race with maybe 2.5 minutes left.
We know for a fact that they've got 2.5 laps left now as they just came through the 4K right around 11:13. That was about a 2:46 last kilometer. Remember, they opened in 2:47, so they're starting to pick up the pace on the run for home.
And Wilson truly has been running near the front the majority of the way, and he just does not want to give this up. But here comes Patrick Anderson now slicing into the rail in that third position. I'm wondering what he can offer here as this race really ramps up with 800 meters to go.
His teammate Will Coogan as well, he's into 5th. 2 Tar Heels in the top 5. But it's still Micah Wilson. He's done a great front running job. He's had to wipe his sweat a little bit, but he hasn't had to look back at all. He's remained fully focused on what's in front of him, despite all that's happening behind him. 5 guys on his rear into the final 600 meters.
When you let a race get down to the last moments and it becomes an 800 race or a 400 race, and then it becomes who's got the best speed in the house. And as we say that, Coogan moves to the front on Wilson. We'll see if anyone responds to that move as they come up to the 400 meter mark.
Will Coogan is going to take the bell in the hot heat of the 5K, coming through at around 12:50, 12:51.
Wilson sticking on his shoulder, though. He's not letting him go just yet. Coogan now moving with less than 400 to go.
Wilson's starting to really get the elbows involved, but he's done a lot of work to this point. And Coogan has been patient. He's now starting to put some meters on the field.
Coogan showing that 1,500 meter speed starts to gap the field by just a few meters to Youngstown. Boys coming up, Hunter Christopher looking to match that speed from Coogan, but now he's starting to pull away.
They're trying to come back now. Don't forget about the Husky either. Travis Martin coming off the turn, but it will be Will Coogan leading them off the bend. The comeback is alive. Patrick Anderson moving up on the outside. Christopher still in second, but it is going to be Will Coogan to take it. Sub 14 by a country mile, 13:52.6.
What a story out of North Carolina. Coogan and Anderson in their third race back from that big injury, that big car accident, really performing on the biggest stage here at the Penn Relays. 13.52 for Coogan as he puts down a 61 in his final 400 to take the race. Anderson finishing in third, 13.53. Both are under 14 minutes. You could call that a huge success here tonight.
The comeback story continues, and again, like we said, this first 5K of the season, not a whole lot to expect, especially given that they've only done 1,500s to this point, but again, helping them on that speed, having that close, they knew when to go, and they went, and that was decisive. Will Coogan coming within 8 seconds of his personal best. still stands at 13:44.64, but just
and that's
catching their
head
breaths
coach
there.
Chris Miltenberg giving both of those men a huge hug after a performance like that. You got to feel the emotion. Coogan, look at that face into the finish line. He is feeling everything.